Direct from Montreal, Canada, this is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
We are speaking with the one and only lead guitarist and lead singer of Foghat, the one and only Charlie Huhn, the new album.
The one and only.
The one and only. There is only one of you. And, well, pleasure to talk to you, by the way. Bonjour, as we say in Montreal. How are you?
Oh, fine. So you're up in Montreal, huh?
Montreal, yeah.
That's awesome.
Sort of the French-Canadian bastion of rock and roll. I mean, you're from Detroit or the Michigan area, which is rock and roll. I mean, Bob Seger, Alice Cooper,
Definitely.
Ted Nugent, all had some great moments there. But, Montreal is the one. So we're celebrating 50 years of Foghat with this new release, 8 Days on the Road. Available, by the way, folks, as a double CD DVD package on July 16th, 2021 on the band's label Foghat Records. Talk to me a little bit about this release, because there is another live album that you participated in years and years ago called Intensities in 10 Cities, which was partly recorded in Montreal. And guess who happened to be in the audience that night? Me.
No way.
Hell
That's
yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. I saw Ted and his swinging...
I have a storied past in live recordings, especially in your opinion.
Absolutely. So let's start with the Foghat, but I do want to get to that
Sure.
Ted one, because I've spoken to Ted about it many times. As a kid going to all those early shows of Kiss and Aerosmith and Ted and whoever, I basically went to anybody that came into town. It affected me. So, and you're part of that. So thank you for that, by the way.
Sure. Oh, hey, thanks.
But let's talk about this one. Recorded in November of 2019, when at the time you were allowed to tour. Now we're allowed to tour again, but for a year you weren't. At Daryl's house. Talk to me about recording it at Daryl's house in that sort of intimate setting, because that's such a great place.
Yeah, it is a very cool club owned by Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates, as everybody probably assumed. And anyway, it's Pauley, New York is a relatively small town in southern New York, far enough away from the city to remain independent. And, it was an option for us to go in and play, not only for the namesake of it, but they had total in-house video and audio recording equipment. So we said, bingo, here's an opportunity. So we were at the end of our kind of touring run for the year and firing on all cylinders. So we went in there and recorded and ended up making a CD and a DVD out of it.
That's terrific. So in terms of celebrating the 50 years of the band, we have this release coming out. We've got this tour coming out. Will there be a new album, a new studio album?
Yeah. In fact, we had a new studio album about 4 years ago called Under the Influence.
Yep.
And, that was a really fun product to work on. We recorded down at Dark Horse Studio in Nashville, and we had some old friends of ours. Nick Jameson played bass on Slow Ride, and he was the bass player back on that Fool for the City album back in the mid-'70s. And Kim Simmons sat in on a couple of songs with us, so that was fun. But, we're beginning studio recording for another album of originals, and it's going to be a more blues directed style of original songs, and also some old covers of like Robert Johnson and other things. But that's our tentative plan right now. But right now we're promoting this live CD, and real happy with it, getting all kinds of really good reviews. So
well, listen,
looking forward to seeing what it does.
I've had a chance to hear it. It sounds spectacular, and the a couple of videos up on YouTube look great too. Talk to me about joining the band, because they're celebrating 50
Sure.
years. You're celebrating, I guess, 21 years with the band.
Yeah.
Talk to me
I've
about,
been
yeah.
with the band longer than the original band was together.
Yeah, and you know, it always amazes me when you look at some of these bands historically. There's always that one fan that goes, "Oh, bring back the original members." But you know, if you look at Kiss and if you look at Iron Maiden or if you look at Foghat, you go, "No, man, this band's kicking as it is." Talk to me about coming into the lineup because you know you do the Ted Nugent thing, you do Gary Moore, you do Humble Pie. Talk to me about how you and Roger got together and you went, "Okay, I'm in for this."
Oh, sure. Well, as you just mentioned, I was in a lineup of Humble Pie with Jerry Shirley, the original drummer, back in the late 80s and 90s. And we did a show in Toledo with Foghat, and it happened to be with the original lineup of Foghat back in 98. And I was excited just to see the original lineup back together. And yeah, I had a chance to open for them. And so Roger and Dave, who are were curious, you know, who was going to be in the Humble Pie lineup and attempt to cover some Steve Marriott vocals, and so what they saw they really enjoyed, and that's how they remembered me. And a couple of years later, when Dave unfortunately passed, he suggested to Roger that he keep the band going and think about asking me to get in the band. I thought that was really nice, and Roger looked me up and gave me a call, and that was how it happened.
Yeah, what a great story. In terms of when you join a band like Foghat that at that point already had a 26-year career, how do you approach it vocally? Do you say, listen, I got to be like the original guy and deliver that sort of thing? Or do you just say, no, Charlie, I'm just going to do what I do? And how does the band and Roger come to you? Do they say, go be you, or do they say, listen, we have a sound, we need you to be the sound?
Right. Yeah, actually, the respect that I have for the original musicians and material, I like to credit and do as great a job of doing as great a job as they did. So it's this labor of love that is recognized with respect. And you know, I might be able to throw in a little bit of my own identity in there, but it's honoring the initial effort of intellectual creativity that I really respect and honor, because you know that's the reason that those songs are timeless, and that's why people love them. And so you don't want to vary too far away from that, because it is an identity that people identify with. So, you know, I'll experiment a little bit here and there, but mostly it's initially, you know, get it down right or as close as you can to the original, and then if you can, you know, improve on it or in any way that you feel, or just change things around a little bit. I mean, we always change things up a little bit in the live show anyway. And you notice that other artists that are performing their own material will change things a little bit here and there. And yet I try to stay as close to the original just out of respect and honor for it.
And honestly, how are you going to improve on Slow Ride? I mean, that's the epitome of a rock
that's
song.
Exactly it. Yeah, you know, and so
you know?
It's one thing, you know, to honor that, but to be able to do it is another thing, you know, and so it's like those vocals are really high, and if you want to attempt to try to do that and then do it consistently and with performance, you know, it's a challenge. So, you know, let's get the basics down first, and then go from there.
So let's go from there. Before I move on to your a little bit of the history with Ted, the Under the Influence album was a Pledge Music campaign. And of course, we all know what happened with Pledge Music. Basically, it imploded and left a lot of fans and bands unhappy. What was your experience with Pledge? But also, is there still a place for this fan-driven monetization of an album? And, you know, can the fans still get involved? Was the concept good, but just sort of poorly executed?
Yeah, I let my managers take care of all the financial parts of it, and it was a great way to help finance recording, because recording is not cheap, and so it's like an investment. I consider it, like if you're buying stocks or something like that, and we didn't really get all that much money from Pledge, so it's not like we took advantage of people, but it's interesting how these online companies or businesses or entities develop and then become a fad, and then some survive and some don't, and it's like, it's just like a crapshoot. But it was kind of a wave there for a while, wasn't it? Everybody was getting a pledge going, or it's like, fund me, GoFundMe,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But regardless, we got the album done, and we had to dig into our own pockets quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So we're real happy with the product, and had a really good time doing it.
Yeah, and listen, I had an experience with Pledge in 2013. I put together a Kiss tribute album that had members of Guns N' Roses and Pantera and all that for a cancer charity in Montreal, for a palliative care home. And it raised $35,000 for the palliative care home, and I had no issues. Pledge, the campaign went 212%. They paid me on time. We got a check to the palliative care home. The newspaper ran a
That's
story.
great.
It was great. So it was.
Congratulations.
Thank you, by the way. Yeah,
and it's good that you didn't have any issues.
No.
Yeah, all that stuff it's like a crapshoot. You just never know what's going to happen, because it's all brand new anyway, and there's no oversight of it, and anyway.
Yeah, and listen,
That's history.
I'll finish. I'll finish on that point for the Pledge. My wife's father had died of prostate cancer, and he had been taken care of at this. Thank you. At that home, and my wife said, we need to donate $100 or $200 to help him out. And I said, hold on, let me call a few people. And it ended up being a very good project and a very good experience. So it's a shame that it went belly up, but yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you for that, by the way. And it was a great moment back in 2013. Let me get over to Weekend Warriors.
Heck yeah.
Weekend Warriors is the first album where you come in and you play with Ted Nugent.
1978.
1978. Now, last year I did this great episode where I had Ted on the phone. And I'm friends with Tom Werman, and I got Tom on the phone. And for an hour, Ted and Tom spoke, and it was kind of funny because, politically they are as divided as possible. And it was.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It was great radio. I mean, it really was. But first of all, what was this like for you? Because you've got this hot producer in Tom Werman. His stuff is blowing up with Cheap Trick, and then eventually in the '80s he moves on to Motley Crue. The man knows what he's doing. And he's got a beautiful bed and breakfast, by the way, out in Massachusetts.
I don't doubt it. And he was hooked up with Lou Futterman, who was Ted's executive producer.
Exactly.
Just dropping a name.
Well, that's it. And that, by the way, on that episode, we spent a lot of time talking about Lou. But so you come in, Ted is at the height of his popularity. You've got this great producer. But you've also got this pressure of, I got to replace Derek St. Holmes, which fans loved.
Oh, yeah, but that's okay. Big shoes to fill. Hey, that's kind of like my job, and I don't mind that. And it's like, I figure if he can bring it, I can bring it. And, I had perfect pitch when I was in 6th grade. So, I'm not, trying to learn how to do this. But it was a fun challenge doing original music, especially with Ted. And he gave me some, minimal parameters. And, we went to town and we produced an album that sold 1 million copies the first week.
Yeah, which is nothing to sneeze at, as we say, as the expression has it.
Exactly.
So how was that for you to work with Tom? Because, when you speak to the guys in Motley Crue. Okay, so you're on
really almost hands off. He almost let you do it, and he would be recording, and he'd say, okay, tape's rolling. And so, it just made you relax and be able to feel it and get into it. And then, they might say, that was great, or, do another run at it. And, but it wasn't this like labor intensive microscopic scrutiny like some other producers, I'm not going to drop any names,
Right.
have a habit of making this, totally pure, unnatural feeling music. So he was just, grab the raw talent and get it on tape, and that's what works.
That's what I agree with. I mean, listen, there's sort of two trains of thought. I mean, you've got Tom's way, and then you've got Mutt Lange's way, which is to have 100 cymbal crashes, over and over again.
Drop in a lead vocal every syllable.
Yeah, which is you listen, I like what he does with Def Leppard. I'm not sure it would work with Cheap Trick or Ted, because it's a different beast. You got to capture a different kind of vibe. So then your experience with Tom then was great, because again, like I was going to say, with Cheap Trick or Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue, they have this revisionist history, or Dee Snider of Twist. It's, Tom wasn't our album should have been more metal, should have sounded.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, really? It's like, because
I know what you mean.
I'm pretty sure you're not refusing the checks that are rolling in from those platinum records. So
exactly,
maybe thank you.
You just can't please 100% of the people all the time. So, Wormy had proven himself, and so if you're going to have a producer, then you got to go with the producer. You don't like hire a producer and then overrule them.
No, I mean, you.
It's like telling the head coach, on the hockey team, no, I don't think you're right. So.
Yeah. By the way, it's got to be so hard to be a head coach, because I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and they're of course.
My dude. I mean, Detroit's my team, but I've been rooting for the Habs ever since the first playoff game.
Oh, yeah, of course, because who wants Toronto to win anything? But no, it's just funny, because we spent the entire year saying that the coach was a jerk, and now they're in the Stanley Cup playoff, and everybody's going, he has a great system. And that's sort of like the music, right? It's like, the vocals this, the vocal that, it's platinum. Well, it's not so bad. It's pretty good.
Yep.
We're never happy, but
exactly.
But speaking of Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens and the Boston Garden, the Montreal Forum,
right.
Let's get over to Intensities in 10 Cities. Now,
okay.
Like I said, I was at that Montreal Forum show, and when you hear Ted on the record, or you hear Cheap Trick on record, or you hear Motley Crue on record, it's okay, it's good, we like it, Wang Tang, Sweet Poon Tang, it's great. But then when you capture them live, or you go see Cheap Trick live, or you go see, suddenly it's a whole new beast. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that tour. Talk to me a little bit about Ted live, because it really is night and day. And I mean, no disrespect to the albums. Yeah, we love the albums, but live.
No, it's just hard to capture all that magnitude of influence that's coming at you at 115 decibels. And the light show, and being in the crowd, and having this like camaraderie of craziness, and just feeling all the energy. That's why live shows are just so much fun. And obviously everybody's, can't wait to get out and go to live shows again. But, Mitch, you obviously realize it's just totally impossible to recreate all of that energy on some audio recording. And people have attempted and been very successful at doing it. Foghat, for one, Peter Frampton, Ted, and just almost everybody else has, live albums out ever since the mid 70s. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's that you just have to experience it to realize that intensity, to use that word, is just almost impossible to capture 100% to relay back to the people from recorded.
It really is, and I think Kiss is the big example. I mean, until Kiss Alive, and you captured the spirit of what the band was, it was almost pointless to listen. And then you hear
Right,
that, and you go, "Ah."
right, right.
On Intensities, Intense Cities, we know that live albums are sort of a compilation, and you fix things here and there. But how pure is it in terms of performance? How much fiddling and diddling was done?
Well, gee, that's over 40 years ago. So I'm going to try to recall, how much editing or overdubbing. And I don't think we did much overdubbing, but as far as editing, sometimes extra crowd noise is added in, or, if the recording wasn't done properly or effectively enough, you have microphones not placed in the right place, and you just have to try to embellish the product however you can. But with Intensities, there was hardly any embellishing. It was all just pretty much straight as it was recorded.
Wow, that's great here, and I'll get off of Ted in a second, but you were, of course,
That's
on the
all right.
screen. Listen, Ted and I get along great. You were on the Scream Dream album, and recorded the song. Part of the recording was Wango Tango, which is one of those great rock songs that lives on. Talk to me just a little bit about that album, and then being on one of these songs, sort of like Slow Ride. Wango Tango is one of these songs that just lives on, and people go, "Yeah, I got to hear that." Just talk to me a little bit about that album, and of course, working on
Oh,
that.
sure. That was the third studio album that I sang on with Ted, and at that point, Ted was still writing all the music, and he decided to sing more on that album. And I had already sung all the tracks, and then he decided that he was going to sing over more than half of them. And, I didn't have a problem with that. But the songs that I ended up being on the album for were kind of B-sides, and it's okay. Ted did a really good job with the lead vocals on that album, and obviously, like on Wango Tango, it's a real what would you call it? A live recording, and so it's just one of those comedy rock songs, like I call it, that it's almost like a novelty song, but that shows Ted's sense of humor and his amazing creativity. The guy is just prolific as hell, and we got along great, and I just really enjoyed recording on that.
That it's such a classic album, and let's start wrapping up here. 8 days on the road, of course, is going to be followed by some tour dates. How important is touring to what Foghat does?
It's very important. That's where we stay alive. It's our rock and roll pension program, and we've done a really good job over the past 21 years that I've been with the band in reestablishing the group after losing the lead guitar player and the lead singer, unfortunately, and it hasn't been easy, but we've maintained this steady level of progression in getting bigger and better shows and bigger and better money, and it all comes with a solid work ethic and having the right lineup, having great bandmates, talent-wise and personality-wise, and having great management. So we've reestablished the band ethically and financially, which is really awesome to be a part of, because being the lead vocalist, I have to bring it. I have to bring it every concert, whether it's the seventh in a row and no sleep because we have to go to bed late and get up early and all that. But it's just been this 21 years of constant improvement. And if you get a chance to see us, I'm sure you'll be impressed, because it's like a moving train, and it just doesn't stop until it comes into the station, and it's just so much fun being a part of it.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Hopefully, we'll get some Foghat up in Canada. It's been a while, so it would be nice. And,
Yeah,
hey, it would be
the closest we've been to Montreal. We were up there about 10 years ago, and it was just wonderful. But then we also played in Ottawa. They had a big festival up there, and that was about 8 years ago. But I'm eager to get back. It's so beautiful up there, and everybody's so nice.
Yeah, we got to get back, and I'll finish on this. A lot of bands do the farewell tour, and then hey, we're leaving. I don't see any need for Foghat to do that. I mean, the band continues on, and it's been doing well, and everybody wants to hear those hits. What's your sense on that?
And that won't happen. That won't happen. Roger's gonna rock till he drops and roll till he's old, and that's an old Dave Peverett quote. But Roger's gonna keep playing. He's run into some physical issues lately with where he's needed to start this new platelet therapy, which is so awesome, to be able to grow new cartilage, because being a drummer, you really get a lot of wear and tear. Kind of like being a hockey player, they're kicking stuff and they're slamming stuff and they're constantly banging things around with their body, and it takes a toll. But anyway, he's going to keep playing forever, and I probably will too. And so don't worry, Foghat's not going away.
Good. And yeah, I've always wondered about drummers, and I especially look at the heavy metal drummers that do all the blast beats and stuff,
Sure.
and I just look at them and go, that's gonna effing hurt when you're 60. You should just stop.
Or these singers that do the growling and stuff like that,
Oh yeah.
But hey, to each his own, and do it as long as you can, because it's so much damn fun, and go live it up.
Yeah, and forget the slow ride. It's going to be a long ride. That's what we want with Foghat.
There you go. That's a good one, Mitch.
And on that, as we say here in Montreal, merci beaucoup, Charlie. An absolute pleasure. I'm glad we got this done today.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I appreciate it. And hi, everybody out there. And thanks for being Foghat listeners.
Thank you. Have a good day. Merci.
All right. Take care, Mitch. Bye.
Bye-bye now.